Our next speaker will be talking about the abuses against the Fifth Amendment's double jeopardy clause in the judicial system. He's qualified to speak about this since, much like Jesus as a child, he roamed the temples of his day. So has Jeffrey roamed the temples and the halls of justice, albeit he was usually awaiting his verdict to come in. Fellow Toastmasters, will you please give a hearty welcome to Mr. Jeffrey Hall.
The Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to be free from, among other injustices, double jeopardy. This is to say that once tried, a person cannot again be tried for the same offense. Think for a moment and ask yourself, have you ever seen a person acquitted in state court then to be tried in federal court? This is what happened to the officers in the Rodney King case. This is what was proposed and considered by the federal prosecutors and was called for by the general public in the Michael Vick dogfighting case. This indifference to the Fifth Amendment has permeated the court systems throughout America. While we are not always sympathetic to these defendants, we should be empathetic in that there before the grace of God go I. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, imagine, if you will, that you have just been acquitted of a very serious crime, one that you did not even commit. Your attorney was required to defend you against a plethora of charges at an enormous expense. You have now been informed that you will be retried on these very same offenses all over again. Impossible, you think. This is the type of unconstitutional legal abuse which is being perpetrated upon the American people, primarily by people who know better, against people who do not. To understand precisely how and why prosecutors are employing these unconstitutional and abusive tactics, we first must understand how the double jeopardy clause is being circumvented. Primarily, the abuse shows itself in the practice of multiple charges being brought against the defendant simultaneously. State prosecutors who may be inept, lazy, or simply too insecure that they will secure a conviction will charge a defendant with multiple crimes and hope that at least one of those charges will result in a conviction. A person may find that they are required to defend themselves against capital murder, second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, and involuntary manslaughter, all within the same trial. Each of these charges may require a different tactical approach, but when argued in front of the same jury at the same time, multiple defenses are often ineffective. The required defense against one charge may lead the jury to believe or to assume guilt in another charge. Another way the judicial branch has found to circumvent the Fifth Amendment is to try a defendant in one system, typically the state court, and if that system does not acquire a conviction, to try that same defendant in another system, typically the federal court. They'll call the charge by a completely different name, but this is the most blatant violation of the principle of the double jeopardy clause. Finally, there's the hung jury method of abuse. If a jury returns hung, which is to say they come back without a unanimous verdict, both the state and the federal court systems are allowed to retry the case indefinitely. In theory, a person could continue to be put on trial until the day they die, though most likely bankruptcy will precede death, suicide notwithstanding. As a result, many an innocent man or woman has been outspent into a guilty verdict. This judicial inequity is what the Founding Fathers had in mind while writing the Bill of Rights. They knew that if any part of the government were given even the slightest advantage, it would tip the scales of justice, leading to these abuses. Rulings by high courts, which tend to swing from left to right and then back again, will continue to interpret less than ambiguous sections of these two co-joined but separate documents. Quite often, for a variety of reasons, when a government is subverting our civil liberties, citizens may look the other way. They may willingly choose not to notice. And at other times, the change is so slow and subtle that the abuses may not easily be recognized until they affect us directly. We must all speak out against this injustice. It is more than just our right, it is our duty to our country, to ourselves, and to the people who have gone before us to protect these rights, so that we may live in a free and unoppressed society. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate that.